Hello and welcome to Complexity Limit's Guide to the Mythic Inerva Darkvein encounter, written and produced by Crzypck in coordination with Complexity Limit. Presented by Herman Miller. Just a quick note before we begin, this guide assumes you know the fight already on Heroic. As such, we will not be discussing or explaining the Heroic mechanics, we will assume you know them, and will exclusively be focused on the Mythic changes and strategy. If you need a refresher on the basic mechanics, please check out our Heroic guide on the channel. This encounter on Mythic has a few important changes to some of the mechanics. First and foremost, whenever you open a canister to drain Anima from it, the drained Anima is now transferred to the remaining canisters. Because of this, you cannot simply drain canisters before and after every phase like you do on Heroic. Instead, each phase essentially has an enrage timer. If the focus canister fills up, you'll wipe. A couple of the canister mechanics are also tweaked for Mythic. First, the tank targeted by Warped Desires will have two images appear, each one attacking once. If you face the attacking image, nothing happens. However, if you fail to face the attacking image, it'll deal a massive chunk of shadow damage to you. This is bad, so make sure you face the images. In addition to this, Sins and Suffering now has 4 orbs instead of 3. All 4 orbs need to be within the lines to clear them, forcing a bit more coordination and angling of the lines. Lastly, the concentrated Anima is now always applied to 3 players. Each time, you'll get 2 manifestations and 1 specter to deal with. One tip here, you can actually have players pre-immune the cast of concentrated Anima. If any of the immuned players are targeted, they just won't get the debuff and you won't get that ad. For comp, we recommend 2 tanks, 4 healers, and 14 DPS. Strategy-wise, the major change-up is that once a canister reaches level 2 or level 3, you'll need to continue dealing with those empowered abilities for the remainder of the encounter. You won't be able to just drain the canister once you change phases to remove those empowered mechanics. As you get deeper into the fight, this becomes progressively more of a problem and makes the fight much more challenging. To help combat this, Bloodlust on Pull. This will help push you into phase 2 more quickly, which means canister 1 will be lower on Anima. This will prevent canister 1 from filling later on in the encounter. Also, when canister number 4 reaches 6% full, drain it. This seems minor, but it'll actually be really helpful later on in the fight. By about a minute 45 into the fight, both canisters 1 and 2 will be reaching level 2. From that point on, every Warped Desire cast on the tank will apply Shared Cognition on 4 players each time. This will deal a moderate amount of damage to the debuff targets, so the healers should ensure they have the raid frame set up to show who gets that debuff. Additionally, every bottled Anima Soak Circle from this point will now leave a puddle. Don't stand in the puddles. By the time you push out of phase 2, canister 2 will likely be at level 3, meaning bottled Anima will now also bounce. Importantly, the Soak Circles after the bounce will always go towards the very middle of the room. Because of this, the middle of the room will slowly fill with puddles. To make sure your raid always has somewhere to stand, from this point on, you'll want to start moving along the outer edges of the room. Move slowly counterclockwise around the room as necessary. Canister number 3 will also reach level 2 around the time you push into phase 3, meaning the orbs will be connected by the Anima web lines. Don't run through the lines or you're going to take a massive chunk of damage. While you're nearing the end of phase 3, canisters 1, 2, and 3 will all likely reach level 3 empowerment. This means the tanks now explode when Warped Desires expires, the bottled Anima is leaving those puddles and bouncing like we discussed, and the Anima web lines around the orbs now rotate. With all of these things going on simultaneously, the fight is starting to ramp up in difficulty very quickly. Everybody in the raid needs to be paying close attention to the mechanics as they come out. You'll want to clear the Sins and Suffering orbs as quickly as you possibly can, and your tanks need to make sure that they get as far away from the raid as possible when Warped Desires is expiring. In addition to all of this, canister number 4 will reach level 2 empowerment, which means the players affected by concentrated Anima will now be rooted. Fortunately, most abilities that remove roots work here, things like Disengage or Blessing of Freedom. Do what you can as a raid to keep the ads relatively close to the boss so they can be more easily interrupted and cleaved down. As you push into phase 4, the encounter basically turns into an all-out nuke. You're racing against the canisters filling up. If any of the canisters reach 98% full, you should drain them down for a couple of seconds, and then click that same canister again, which will close it. A canister reaching 100% full will wipe your raid very quickly, so do anything you can to prevent that. As you work through this last 25% of the boss's health, you'll experience all 4 canister abilities reach level 3 empowerment. Stuff is going to get really hairy, just try to take it piece by piece. Soak every circle, don't stand in puddles, clear the orbs as quickly as possible, don't get hit by the spinning Anima web lines, interrupt and kill the ads as soon as they spawn, and tanks, make sure you get out with Warp Desires before it expires. Lastly, for the very first concentrated Anima you get in Phase 4, all of the players in your raid that have immunities should use them. With a little luck, 1 or more of those immunity players will be targeted by this spell, and you'll get to skip an ad or 2. This will let you pump just that little bit of extra damage into the boss instead. Blow everything you have and kill the boss before she kills all of you. Thanks for checking out our video. Now that you know how to kill the boss, be sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for the rest of our guides, kill videos, and a whole lot more.